are here with the incredibly talented Eric Bernard to talk about his film, The Place We Hide. But first, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. I'm Karen Toring, director of the Gary International Black Film Festival. We're celebrating 10 years of Black excellence, and we couldn't have done it without our sponsors and partners, which include Array, the Legacy Foundation, the Knight Foundation, our friends over at the Urban League of Northwest Indiana, Indiana University Northwest Office of Diversity, Equity, and Multicultural Affairs, and James Wallace is over there heading that up. Jay's Breakfast Club, CWIT Public Relations, Quad J Creations, Trainer Digital Strategy, the City of Gary, my hometown, the filmmakers, the panelists, and especially you. We're glad you're here. And thank you for joining us, Eric. We're really
Hey,
glad to have your film. Thank you for submitting that handcrafted work. It's beautiful. It's
thank you so
beautiful.
much. And thank you, Karen, and thank the Gary International Black Film Festival team. It's amazing work, that you're doing right now. And when I first was looking for my start, it was in festivals like this that really motivated me and validated some of my abilities to kind of, give me the motivation to keep going. So you're doing important work over there, and I appreciate
Oh,
you as well.
thank you. Thank you so much. Our festival kind of started off just because we like watching films together. That's really kind of how it started off. And it took us and I hate to say this, but it took us a minute to really understand how important film festivals are to emerging and even established filmmakers, because it gives you a chance to have that conversation with an audience that you wouldn't necessarily have once your film gets big and
Absolutely.
into distribution. So we have for the festival, we have the film The Place We Hide, which is so stylized and a very edge of your seat kind of film. And so let's get into the specifics of the film. Where did the idea come from, and how did that idea evolve?
I mean, like all great ideas, it evolved from pure chance, to be honest with you. I was looking for a low budget film to do as my first feature. And all my scripts I've written over the last couple of years, I started out as a writer, all of them are pretty ambitious and a lot higher in budget, but you have to do one really to attract talent, to show them that you can make something, that looks good and won't make them look bad. And then that you can actually finish a film for all the other investors who, run into problems where people just don't see it through. So I needed something small but high enough concept to where I can engage an audience for an hour and a half and with a compelling story. So there was a writing buddy of mine who happened to come across a short film script, and she introduced me to the writer, and it was this idea of someone trapped in the elevator. And we've seen all those, and those are really challenging, but they're inexpensive to film, and you really spends a lot of your intellectual energy making the story compelling, and how do you keep something interesting in the elevator. So I
Mhm.
met with that writer, and we talked, and we did a page rewrite together, and really developed the characters. We came up with a story, of revenge and redemption that happened to take place in this elevator. So it was just pure chance. It happened more or less.
Oh, I know. Now this is look, this the fan girl in me, because so much happened in that elevator. And when I approach a film, one of the things that I wanted to do is to take me to another place. Like, so, our tagline is get inside film so you can get outside of yourself. And I felt like this film really, even from and I keep using the term stylized, but the opening credits, sort of set you up. It's like, this is going to be delicious. It's going to move very slowly. It's going to be handcrafted really well. So, sit back, get ready, because we're about to take you on a journey. And I felt like this film really, really took us on a journey. But I can certainly see how do you take something that fundamentally takes place in one room, right? The elevator, and make it exciting and compelling and without revealing too much about the film. I thought you did an excellent job of that. I mean, it was an
Thank
edge of
you.
the seat kind of psychological thriller type film that we don't normally see in festivals. And so character choices. Another thing I noticed about this film was some of the, and I don't know how to describe this, but some of the bodies of your characters. Like I noticed that there was this spectrum of folks, who look like regular people, and I really appreciated that to a great extent. And then the juxtaposition of the two main characters. So talk about your choice, how did you visualize the characters that you took from this short story?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, I, character casting, I think, is probably one of my biggest challenges as a director and filmmaker, because you can see some of what you want in the person if they kind of display it, ordinarily, if this is who they are. But then sometimes actors are looking for something different from what they normally do, what you've seen him like. He did that great there. He'd be great for this, but they're tired of doing that. They want to do something different. So it's hard. So sometimes you need to find someone that really hasn't done something like this, and give them and push them, and they're open to being pushed to a new level in terms of their spectrum of performance, their range of performance.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is I went with a couple of people I knew were good, and I relied on submissions and stuff, and I had a couple different options for Stevie the doctor, and and Nikki, when she submitted her read, it was great. She took time, and I always like actors that take their time in the submissions and stuff like that. That even if they have props, that shows me that there's a certain level of engagement and even dedication, because it's something they don't have to do, but they take time to kind of get into the role and play around with it. That's always something I always look for, like whenever I cast, and she did a great job. And then I was like, wow, she might be able to do this. So once I selected her, I needed someone special for for my Jack character, my male lead. So and I had an actor from the UK that was supposed to fly in, but last minute he took on a TV job, and he didn't want to turn down a TV gig, so he kind of canceled on me. So I had to scramble, and then I saw this guy's reel, and then when I talked to him on the phone, he had this great presence, and he was a little bit hesitant, because that's nothing you run into is characters wanting to work with someone they haven't worked with before. So he's like, "So who are you?" And it's, "Hey, I'm Eric, man. I'm shooting my first feature," and it became one of those, well, what have you done before? Well, I haven't done anything. Well, can you
Oh,
shoot me
so he
something?
gave you a
And
shot. He gave
yeah,
you a shot as
I
opposed
know.
to the other way around. And, we
Yeah,
don't talk about that, that actors
and
have to be very careful.
absolutely. And literally, I had to send him and his team footage from set, after I already begun filming, before he finally decided to jump on a plane. So it worked out. He gave me a great performance, so it was definitely worth it. But he made it. And then I always keep in my pocket known values. Actors that I know that are good, that I can go to for a wide range of roles, and I help them build their career. Especially people that show up for me as a filmmaker and as an indie filmmaker now. I mean, when you get a great actor that shows up, doesn't complain, really resilient to the time, and gives you great stuff. I'm there. I call them up all the time, and I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing here? I got a film coming up." Or my people call them, and they're like, "Do I submit something?" No. Eric asked for you, so you're good to go. So like I always bring them back, and I rush them to the front. If I know that they're good and they're not going to cause me any problems, because there are enough problems. So that's pretty much my selection process. Some people that want to do something new that I can trust with the role, and people that I know are good, that can fill roles really well. So I don't have to worry about that. I can focus on the challenge of the production, because each film has its own challenges. Like being an elevator, I had to really make these shots fresh, and I had to create new angles, to kind of keep the audience
Yes.
visually interested. So I couldn't really worry about the other characters as much as these two right here. Like, how do I make this exciting? They're in a box.
Mhm.
So
And I noticed that, some of the flashback or the memory characters almost had, oh man, I don't know what the word, they had like a different texture, like when you would, was that intentional? I mean, because the characters in the elevator, were very full and complex, right? But
mhm.
so yeah, talk about that.
So visually, I have my style, as a filmmaker, and the one thing I believe is that when an audience sits down, most of the time you want them to kind of suck them into your world. And I think that you need a reset moment, almost where you make a promise, to the audience at the very beginning. So from the very beginning, I wanted to let the audience know that this is going to be something different, and like you said, I took steps and I played around with noir things and really took some time shooting, the opening credits to where, I spent the whole day on that, just making sure that I had something uncommon, something really surreal to kind of to explore the duality of people. Like everyone's kind of double-sided. And I want to kind of like, the audience to really see that and kind of feel it, even though I'm not on the nose with it. So like some people may look at it and like, oh, no, I don't see anything, but I still want to give that option, for the audience to kind of say, okay, reset, forget about everything else out there. Now step into this world. And from there, I think the color, was meant to really enhance the characters. If you look at the elevator, I put the characters up against a gray wall. I wanted the actors to be the canvas. When you're shooting a low budget film, the human landscape is really where your money is. As a director, look at these people here. Forget about everything else. I don't want you to look at anything. There's no flowers, no trees, and no beautiful sunsets here. It's just these people, and I chose people that I thought were really good, on camera, that really cinematic, visually. So then when we went to the flashbacks, I made an effort to really kind of take us back in time a little bit. So the colors changed a little bit, and we used a little bit more green. We used a little bit more of a drab feel to really let the audience know that we're kind of going back in time, and this is the past. So it's not as sharp as the present, not as bright, not as vibrant. So, it definitely took some time. It's a good catch right there.
So, talk about, we have a couple of incredible cinematographers in this year's festival. And I know that the relationship between the director and the cinematographer is, is important, to say the least. So, talk to me about how you, select and find, you were very detailed about actors, but what about the other people you surround yourself with, in particular the cinematographers? How do you find good ones, and how do you keep them working with you?
That's a really good question. But I think I worked one of the first films I produced, like this is years ago. The cinematographer on that film, him and I ended up developing a relationship, and he came in from the UK. And we shot a couple of shorts. I built a set in my garage, and we shot this short, and then we shot another one right back to back, and we kind of got our butts kicked, together, and this was where your crew's just as important, probably more important than anything, because that they create so much friction if they're not doing their jobs right. And we had some lessons learned, some hard lessons and stuff. And that kind of helped us, shaped us up into a feature. So by the time we got to the feature, we had all our arguments, we had all our disputes, and we kind of saw eye to eye. So which helped us out tremendously. So for me, I've always been really good at blocking and really good at shot selection. And my DP was really good at color, but I learned that he likes to take more time to light. And sometimes, in the beginning, I used to get frustrated because we're always behind schedule, and so because he likes to take his time, he's a perfectionist when it comes to lighting. So like what I learned is by the time I got to the feature, I knew that he was gonna take forever to light. So I used that time to go talk to my actors. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Let's do a quick rehearsal. Let's talk. So it gave me more time to engage and sharpen them before he's seen. So I was able to use that time, productively. And then I think that you have to have a couple of reps to really, get engaged with your cinematographer, because everyone has their own style. And I think that like for me, I hate handheld. So, and he likes handheld. So we have to have compromise moments. So we learn where to compromise. And those things are very critical to a film. Otherwise, you don't have a fluid motion. And and obviously, you end up behind schedule, and then from there your film becomes kind of questionable in terms of whether I'd be able to complete on time and complete to the level of quality that you were planning at the very beginning.
And you have a lot of projects. I mean, I know you say that this is your first feature film, but you're no baby in this game. I mean, you have been working in the industry for a while, and I'm sure that folks would want to know, just about your journey. So, I should have done that before, but I'm doing it now. So, tell us about your journey. When did you decide to become a filmmaker? That whole pathway.
Wow, that's another good question. I've always liked film. I used to work at a video shop, so I've probably seen like thousands and thousands of films, over the years. And I've always had a healthy love and appreciation for the cinema. And I think it was in 2000, 2003. I was in Iraq, because I spent about 15 years active duty, and I'm still in the reserves now. So I'm at 18 years chasing my 20. But I was in Abu Ghraib in Iraq. I remember we had a bootleg copy of Kill Bill, and
Mm.
for 2.5, 2 hours, wherever long that video was, we sat down and we escaped. And it was amazing. It was just so over the top and so imaginative and just something extraordinary. And I remember watching that film thinking I want to be a filmmaker, and I was always a decent writer, but it took some time. And um, eventually I went back to school. I tried to write a script, and it was pretty bad. I bought Final Draft, and I thought that's all you needed to do, and it was really bad. And then when I came back after another tour, I came back, decided I went back to school. I went to SCAD University. I was stationed in Savannah, and I went to school on my lunch break in the military. And I had a great teacher, Michael Nolan. He produced Mr. Holland's Opus. And I had another teacher, David Engelbach, who wrote Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone back in the day. These guys, were amazing and really pushed me to hone my craft. And I remember I wrote, it was a short film, it was a short script, a screenplay class. I wrote a full feature. I was just motivated. On my first class, my second class, I wrote a script that went on to win my first festival. I won the Harlem International Festival screenwriting contest, and that was like a long time ago. So like after I got that validation, and I started going to pitch meetings in LA, and that was kind of like my journey, going to pitch meetings, learning a little bit more about the business. And after a few years, I realized that I optioned a script and realized the producers struggle to get it produced, and really the obstacle isn't really writing the script all the time, and you have to have a good script. But the harder part of, because your script is kind of nothing if you can't find someone to produce it. So I started to learn how to produce, and you realize most producers don't like to read. It's another fact I realized. So
But
I,
you're
I had
also a
to,
producer. I just want to
yeah.
remind you. So you talk about yourself.
No,
I'm just
hey,
saying, you
it's
talk
true.
about yourself.
I'll be the first to tell you I don't like to read either. I need to know it's good before I read it, and so like because a lot of scripts aren't good. I mean, that's the reality of it. And a lot of times you have to guard the interest in your mind and protect your time. So you read the first 5, 10 pages, and you kind of learn to know if a script's going to be good or not in the first 5, 10 pages. I mean, it sounds harsh, but it's true. You can tell if this writer is going somewhere with this story, or this writer has skill like in the first 10 pages. So I started producing, and I got really good at that. And I produced my first feature film. I produced I EP'd a couple other films, and then I started directing. And really, that was just kind of my journey. I met a lot of salespeople over the years. I used to show up with expensive bottles of scotch, and kind of asked them to teach me the game, and they were patient with me. They took time, and I learned sales, learned distribution. And from there, I got my probably my big break, when one of my buddies called me to produce a TV show with them, and I started producing Hoarders. And I got a chance, and I said, I'm doing this reality TV show. I'm really into reality TV, but this is something I can use to get better. So what can I do that I don't really know? Then I started learning post production, so I run all the post production there. So maybe better as a filmmaker, where I was able to, you see this film right here. From the time I wrapped, I had everything through post production in about 8 weeks. So
Oh,
like,
that yeah, yeah, that's incredible. You need an
yeah.
award for that. We should start asking filmmakers, how long did it take you to make it? And then give awards for the most efficient. That's some efficient production, my brother. Some
No, hey,
efficient
I mean
production.
lots of filmmakers that never get it out to market, and or they spend years and stuff. But this one, I was able to, and really it's because it's lessons learned. You learn where your hiccups are. You kind of start filming with the end in mind, and you know how to kind of muscle through at the end. So and that's pretty much my journey. And now with this first feature film, you realize that in order to attract talent, in order to kind of make investors feel comfortable, you have to show them that you did one. And usually your first one is the one you have to find family, friends, and your own savings to kind of get done, and prove to people that you're worth it, when it comes down to it. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, I looked at the budget for this film, and either your family is very lucrative or you've also figured out how to get backers for the film. It's, you know, it's a beautiful piece and it shows. You took your time and it shows. I mean, and like you said, those are the things that investors are looking for. You know, they're looking for that kind of, you know, what, you know, like you
Absolutely.
said, producers don't like to read, and investors want to know that they're going to get their money and that we're all going to make money on this film.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, just the teasing out of the idea and, you know, and bringing it forward is an exciting thing. Well, before we wrap, and I hate that because I could, yeah, we could go for a bit. Uh, but I want you to do two things. I want you to talk about what you're working on next. And then I want you to talk about how people can find you and follow you in your work. So what are you working on next?
I'm working on this action feature right now called Free Dead or Alive. It's a story about a beautiful El Salvadoran woman who falls in love with a hard-hearted coyote along the Mexican migrant route.
A
So, you
coyote,
know,
as in the people that help migrate people get over the border. Hmm.
yeah. So,
Hard-hearted. Why they gotta be hard-hearted? Look at your auntie just critiquing already. Why they
no,
gotta be mean?
to survive in that part of the world, you know, you got to be hard-hearted. You know,
Okay.
it's not for the faint and weak of heart. And it's a story about one in a million woman who dares to dream, and a special guy that, you know, also, you know, used to dream but is forgotten how, and the two of them end up having to pretty much fight against everyone
Mm,
on their way north. And it's a great story. The kind of stories I don't think you see a lot anymore. If I had to compare it to something, it's something like Romancing the Stone, but more serious. You know, where
mhm,
it's a story of human endurance, and really it's to show people the price that people pay to cross the border and set foot in America. A
freedom
lot
and
of people
liberty.
take that for granted. Yeah, they think
Yeah.
it's just, you know, a cab ride or a bus ride up, but no, these people pay a price in blood, and it's really worth, you know, kind of letting the audience see that, you know, one
Mhm.
time in a way that's entertaining but also informative.
Right. And so I do have some more questions about that. So um, how did you find this story? And did you write this?
I did write this one. So, you know, this is one I wrote a few years ago. So, like, in 2013, there was a woman that was attacked in New Delhi, India. Her name was Jyoti Singh. She was attacked on a bus, and she later died. And when I read the story about her, I was really, you know, I was really upset, and I wanted to do something, you know, and I couldn't go to New Delhi and kill these guys. So,
Mhm.
I wanted to write something that was encouraging, you know, women like her that have the spirit to fight back, and really, you know, find stories where women are backdropped against an oppressive society, or oppression period, and show, you know, just a remarkable journey where a person refuses to surrender. And Free Dead or Alive was, you know, one of the three stories that I came up with, you know, where I have a woman in a town where the easy road would be to accept a marriage to, you know, a cartel leader's son, but she chooses the hard road, and because of that, you know, she's pretty much hunted, and now she has to really endure a world where, you know, everyone tells her she can't dream. It's just, you know, those things aren't for her, and she has to, you know, really battle to kind of, you know, fight through that and achieve what everyone says is impossible. So
Yeah, I'm always curious about men who write uh, women characters. And you know, this is I was looking at your filmography, and this is you write a lot of women. Um,
yeah.
so what draws you to that, you know, to those sort of characters, and how do you round them out in a way that, because I thought the lead character in the film that we have in the festival was that, you know, you took your time with that character. You know, we understood her in a way before she got in that elevator. We understood who she was and how she rolled. So,
Hmm.
you know, how do you tease out your women characters? And do you ask other women about them, or do you just write them and go, this is what you get?
No, I'm definitely always open to collaboration. So, like, if someone comes up with an idea, I'll listen to it all the way up until the time we get on set. Then I kind of like start tuning to calling narrowing it down. But
Mhm.
I think that a lot of my inspiration, my understanding. I grew up. My mom raised me, single mom, 3 kids. You
Mm-hmm.
know, in the middle of the South Bronx and in the middle of the crack era. You know, I grew up in the '80s and
Whoa.
in a really bad neighborhood. You know, and I remember how strong my mom was, and a lot of those things, you know, kind of persevered when I even though some of her struggles I was young, but like when I got older, I kind of understood them a lot better when she was up against, you know, the ceiling, the glass ceiling for income, the, you know, living in a predominantly male world, what she had to kind of, you know, endure and really, you know, fight against to kind of maintain her identity. And I think those things are universal. So I think that I can understand those from a unique perspective because I was riding shotgun with her and I got a chance to see her reaction to those and see her engage and kind of fight against those things. So I kind of understood them a lot better than I think people if they haven't had a chance to see that. So I can some of the stuff I can write almost firsthand, you know, and just kind of feeling the ripples of some of those kind of come back to me. And then and then being a parent, you know, I have a daughter, of course, that you know I could kind of see some of the challenges, you know, and trying you know, her journey ahead and trying to prepare her for some of the stuff. So you know, so I think some of those have helped me really understand, you know. But I don't pretend to be like a feminist or anything like that. You know, I mean, I'm still a guy, and I think that, and I'm an observer, so that's why I do need the collaboration piece of it, where I can come up with a character and idea, and you know from there I still need, you know, them to kind of put the skin on and tell me how it feels and help me make adjustments to kind of make it work.
Mm. Okay, so pretend like I'm your fairy godmother, and I want you to make a wish. I want you to make a wish for yourself as a filmmaker
Mhm.
and for indie Black filmmaking. So close your eyes. And what is your wish for yourself and for indie Black filmmaking?
I think my wish for myself is just to stay true, you know, in terms of my vision and my storytelling, you know, and not you know crumble before the pressures that be. You know, I think that tremendous amount of pressure to kind of conform and make something familiar, and I want to push the envelope and make something that's you know extraordinary and not the same, but different, but the same but different. So I
Mhm.
so I hope I can keep doing that for as long as I can as I climb up the budget ladder and not have to, you know, really, you know, bend too much and the creativity piece of it and still be original. I think for indie Black filmmakers, when I watch the show Lovecraft Country, I see you know Melva Green and I see her blending genres in a way that is truly remarkable. And I think that a lot of times indie Black filmmakers get caught up in and just telling like the struggles of the past without really, you know, going into the imagination to kind of guide the the focus of you know our people into the future, you know, where I want to see us cross over more into the sci-fi and blend genres to where you look at the Lovecraft Country, you have a period piece, you have a thriller, you have
Oh
a little bit
yeah.
of sci-fi, a little bit of horror, and it's so entertaining, you know, to see like wow, you know, this is really epic. I want to see us cross over into more of those, you know, where people aren't looking to us for, you know, stereotypical movies where you know like how people see us and people see us as different people, you know, with different abilities and where and cinema sky's the limit. I just want to see us dream bigger. I guess is what I'm
Mm.
saying.
Oh yeah, because you know, you know festival producer, we see a lot of exactly what you described. You know, filmmakers that are scared to dream. You know, that won't come out of this box, and it's like, oh, another film about back in the day when we were colored. Ugh, another
Yeah,
film about I grew up on the streets and my mom. You know,
I know.
and I get so excited when we see films of from emerging and established filmmakers where they like a Lovecraft Country or where they where the you could tell that they've given themselves permission to dream and given themselves permission to tell an unusual story. So I really appreciate that. We do have one question before we go. I thought we were going to be done, but we do have one question from our live audience, and they want to know, when did you decide it was time to quit your day job?
Hey, um, I'll tell you what. Um, that was really hard because you know after 15 years, I was making good money. I was well into six figures, and then I had to make the choice. I think it reached a point where I just I was able to balance it out, and it reached a point where I couldn't balance anymore, and I found myself, really locked in what I felt was like a, a prison, where I couldn't. I was missing calls. I was missing time to write. I wasn't able to produce, and I was really, this part of me that kind of kept me motivated and kept me moving forward has stopped because the day job just became so demanding at one point in time, and I think I made my decision there, and it was tough because when you lose your income and you have to step out there, it's really hard. I remember I was talking to my mom, and I was making this short film that I built a set in my garage, and I called my mom up. My mom says to me, and I'm thinking she's going to tell me to be conservative, and because she's always been that way. And she goes, "Hey, well, Spike Lee maxed out all his credit cards and made a film." So mom tells me, just go for it and max out your credit cards. And I think, and I did, and I made something. And there was a time when, things were hard. I mean, things were really hard. I think that when I left, I knew that I was able to do a couple of different hustles. I built pitch decks for a while. I took on some writing jobs where guys would fly me into their state, and I'd write a script for them, and they'll put me up in room and board, and so I did a couple of those gigs, and so I did a lot of odd jobs once I left. And we hear all the stories about Sylvester Stallone, who was sold his dog and was homeless, and he turned down $150,000. And because he wanted to star in Rocky, and eventually becomes this big star because highest paid actor at one point. Then you read about Tyler Perry sleeping in his car. I think that there's a point when you quit, when you're looking at the day job and you have to sink or swim, and you have to be willing to take a leap of faith, and once that leap of faith, it becomes exponentially, you just become better once you take that leap of faith. The one thing I would advise, to kind of really make sure you're good before you do that, like, go somewhere where you can sharpen your knives, get your kung fu right, get better as a writer, get better as a filmmaker. So when you cross, your learning curve, you're not spending that time learning, you're learning while the day job's going on. So, because I've seen a lot of people that struggle because they're not good at writing, they're not really a good filmmaker yet. And, when you don't have a day job as cushion, you'll find that, if you're not being able to create quality stuff, people aren't going to call you. No one's going to hire you. So like you really have to be, really good when you make and you don't have to be perfect, but you have to be good enough to where, you can produce something and show it to somebody, and it's like, wow, and contract the job, and that'll keep the dream alive until you can, get your bigger projects rolling. But you have to have, something small that keeps you fed until then.
Yes, I like that. Get your kung fu right. Get your kung fu right.
Yeah.
Well, family, we're talking with Eric Bernard, uh, and he is an incredible filmmaker. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. The Place We Hide will show at the Gary International Black Film Festival for the next 48 hours. So if you didn't catch it before the talk back, you still have time to watch it. What's today? Well, today is Tuesday, so you can watch it all the way through Thursday. We thank you so much for submitting that incredible film. We say that internally, we say filmmakers become family, and we really do hope that we see more of your work. Where can people follow you, catch you, your socials, all that stuff?
I'm at TLG Motion Pictures, and we're up on Facebook, on Instagram, so you can follow me there. Also, the film, we locked in distribution. We're going to be live 1 December on all VOD, SVOD platforms. So we're going to be on DirecTV, Amazon Prime, iTunes, and Vudu, and all those other
Is that the Place We Hide?
Yeah, The Place We Hide.
Oh, yeah, right on. See, so you saw it here first.
Yeah, so please come out there and rent those things so I can make another film.
Eric, thank you so much. It's been a joy and a pleasure. And we will follow TLG motionpictures.com. TLG motionpictures.com. Go there. Follow this brother. You'll be able to say, I knew that brother when. So then when he blows up, he still won't return your calls. Eric, thank you so much. And thank you on behalf of the Gary International Black Film Festival. We love the things we hide, and we can't wait to see you do more incredible work. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Karen, and best of luck to you too. And I hope to see you again next year.